Holla at your boy. Should Erik Haula re-sign with the team? And what was his season like from my perspective? And what do his teammates think of him? We have a lot to discuss in today's episode of Locked On Devils. It's day one of the offseason on my end. Buckle up, everybody. It's going to be one hell of a ride.
You're Locked On Devils, your daily podcast on the New Jersey Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, this is Bryce Salvador, and you're Locked On Devils with Trey Matthews.
Elliott scores! Oh, Stevens stepped up, nailed him. Brodor's got the puck. What a shot. The Devils win the Stanley Cup.
Alrighty now, what is up, New Jersey? Welcome back to the Locked On Devils podcast here on the Locked On Network. I'm your host, college hockey play-by-play announcer, Devils writer for Pucks and Pitchforks, and also part-time credential media member, Trey Matthews. It's been a whirlwind the last couple days because this is my first episode during the course of the offseason for the New Jersey Devils. And it feels kind of weird that I'm recording this type of episode in mid-May. And like I told you guys a few days ago, I don't know how I'm going to approach this because usually the past couple years of me covering the New Jersey Devils, usually I'm more prepared for offseason content because usually the Devils season is over in January or February or things of that nature. But obviously they made the playoffs. They made it to the second round. They lost in 5 games to the Carolina Hurricanes. And it sucks that they went out that way, but we got plenty of offseason content to cover. And a couple days ago, I did attend the New Jersey Devils' exit interviews, and I got the chance to speak with a lot of players. I didn't speak with Tomas Tatar because he left a little early, and I didn't get the chance to ask Vitek Vanecek a question, but nonetheless, it was a great experience. I loved meeting a lot of fellow Devils personalities from Ryan Novozinski, James Nichols, Dan Rice, Christy Flannery, Amanda Stein, Mike Moriel, Neil McHale. So a lot of people who have appeared on my show in the past were there as well. So once again, it was a cool experience and I got a lot of sound bites, and that's actually going to help me during the course of these next few weeks of just giving you guys some off-season content, because now I could talk about Jesper Bratt's contract situation and I actually have a sound bite from him, also a spicy sound bite from Jack Hughes. Also, we could talk about Timo Meier. How did he feel like he blended in with the Devils' system? Because that was one of my main questions for him, because on the one hand, we saw his physicality, but on the other hand, we saw the scoring numbers go down from him a little bit. And basically, we could talk about Jack Hughes' overall season, because the question I asked him and the soundbite he provided, that actually caught a lot of headlines around the NHL world. And we'll talk about that in a future episode. But we're not going to start off with Jack Hughes. We're not going to start off with Nico Hischier. We're not going to start off with Jesper Bratt. We're actually going to start off with Erik Haula. And here's why. Because at the conclusion of Game 5, there was basically a few nasty rumors going around Twitter in regard to Erik Haula, because he is a former Carolina Hurricanes. His track history with teams is a little, how would I say it, turbulent. So some fans, including the Carolina fans, have turned on him. And basically people were using the loss at the expense of Erik Haula to make fun of him and say that he is the problem. So a couple tweets that come to mind is that somebody tweeted out saying that Erik Haula became the first player in Stanley Cup playoff history to be eliminated by the same opponent in 3 consecutive postseasons while playing for 3 different teams. He got eliminated by the Carolina Hurricanes when he was a part of the Nashville Predators, the Boston Bruins, and now obviously a part of the Devils organization. And I even saw another tweet from a Hurricanes fan basically saying Erik Haula is the problem. So he used Taylor Swift's lyrics to get his point across. He said, "It's me, Holla, I'm the problem. It's me. Hi, everybody. Everybody agrees," or something like that. I'm not a Swiftie guy, so I don't know if those lyrics were accurate, but nonetheless, it got me thinking, because I was like, look, Erik Haula did actually have a good year for the New Jersey Devils, and I get that he has somewhat of a track history, and we'll talk about that a little later in the episode, but I think Erik Haula is very vital for the Devils organization, and he even went out and told us that he wants to return to the organization, and I think that speaks volume to his character. I think it speaks volume for him just basically getting his redemption, his second chance, and basically all the times I've been around Erik Haula, post-game, pre-game, whatever the case might be, it seems like he is beloved within the locker room, and it seems like that he is a good asset to have for the Devils. And I got to give credit where credit is due. Christy Flannery of the Hockey News, when she appeared on my show back in late fall, I believe this was around Thanksgiving time, American Thanksgiving to be clear, And she said that she always believed in Erik Haula because Erik Haula does the little things so that way his teammates can thrive, including Jack Hughes, because that's why Erik Haula was always on the top six with Jack Hughes. And a lot of people like myself didn't understand at first, but when Lindy Ruff shed that light, we started to see Erik Haula in a new perspective. So that's where we're going to start off. So in this segment, I'm going to focus on Erik Haula's season in general. Then in the second segment, I got a soundbite from Jack Hughes I want to share with you guys because his words, not mine. He said that he is a big fan of Erik Haula and what he has brought to this organization. And then in the final segment, I'll talk about my thoughts as to whether or not the Devils should sign him. So let's talk about Erik Haula's season in general, and we're going to split it up into three parts. So I'm going to talk about his season, his leadership, and his overall impact based on my perspective. So this season for Erik Haula, he appeared in 80 games. He had 14 goals, 27 assists for a grand total of 41 points, and he had a plus minus of plus 13. So when looking at that season in general, I'd say the numbers could have been a lot better had he gotten off to a better start, because the name of the game for Erik Haula, and he was at the expense of a lot of jokes from Devils fans, was that he was snake bitten a lot. He was unlucky because he was missing a lot of wide open opportunities to get his first goal of the season. It took him a while, but once he started to score a little bit more consistently, especially towards the end of the year, I think everyone started to see his true impact. And I always say you seal your legacy come playoff time, and I think that's what we need to highlight. So Erik Haula did not have a good round two against the Carolina Hurricanes. In fact, he didn't record a single point. But in the first series against the New York Rangers, he was able to get 4 goals, 2 assists for a grand total of 6 points. So I think where Erik Haula really started to steal the hearts of Devils fans was towards the end of the year. So despite Lindy Ruff coming out in like early January and saying like, look what Erik Haula does for someone like Jack Hughes, I think when people started to see just Erik Haula shine in the light by himself, people were like, oh, this is why Erik Haula is on the team. And I always said your apology to Erik Haula needs to be just as loud as your slander, because Erik Haula went on a huge scoring streak towards the end of the year. He was able to become a point per game player in like a 7-game stretch. And then that carried over to the postseason, because I said it in a previous episode that Erik Haula was my second star for the first round series against New York Rangers, because he stepped up his game big time when it mattered most. So when looking at his season in general, he got off to a slow start, but towards the end of it, that's when he started to pick up. And I think that's actually, I think that speaks volume once again, because it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And it was what I was talking about when Andre Palat was struggling. I was like, everything can be forgiven what you do during the course of the season, as long as you're able to perform come playoff time. And Erik Haula stepped up his game. He was one of the reasons why the Devils were able to overcome that 2-0 deficit and beat the Rangers in 7, because he stepped up his game. And similar to what a lot of the Devils players were saying when I was asking them about their overall depth, they said that depth is essential. So when Michael McLeod got going in game 7, that really fired them up. So when Erik Haula gets it going, I think that's where people start to just have more confidence in themselves, and you start to see Erik Haula's skills be utilized a little bit more. Now, when looking at his leadership, basically when I speak to Erik Haula, sometimes he can be a little grouchy post-game, but he's just telling it how it is. And basically, me being a former athlete myself, like if you were to ask me 5 minutes after I lost a game, I'm not going to be the happiest of camper. Now, I just played college baseball. I didn't really go all that far, but at the end of the day, it's like I kind of get it from Erik Haula's perspective. So I never thought of him as a jerk. I never thought of him as a cancer. He just says it how it is, whether it's a win or a loss, wherever the case might be. So I think that translates outside the locker room, at practice or behind closed doors, which is he tells the guys how it is. And I think a lot of people, especially the young guys like Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, he's a young captain himself, and someone like Jesper Bratt, wherever the case might be, this team is full of young guns that have a lot of untapped potential. So you need someone like Erik Haula, similar to Andre Palat, someone who's been in that situation before, to pull them up by the bootstrings and basically say, look, this is how we're going to do it going forward. So I think Erik Haula, based on the small interactions that I've had with him post-game, I'd say it translates outside the locker room, behind closed doors, wherever the case might be, and on the rink in the big game as well, because I think he's talking a lot on the bench. I think he's talking a lot during the course of game action. And I think that, once again, that is very important for a young and upcoming team like the Devils. So Erik Haula, his leadership shines in that sort of way. And his impact, I think Erik Haula is a Swiss Army knife because he could do a little bit of everything. Because here's what Erik Haula can do. He can score when he wants to, but he's selfless. He's making sure that Jack Hughes is getting his overall reps because Jack Hughes is obviously the star player. And I don't know what people expect from Erik Haula from a scoring standpoint, but basically it's the same thing that I talked about when discussing Timo Meier. It's like Timo Meier doesn't need to put up those big offensive numbers because you already got a Jack Hughes. You already got a Nico Hischier. You already got a Jesper Bratt. You don't have to do all those things, but Erik Haula knows how to defend as well. He knows how to do face-offs. He knows how to work the corners. He's not afraid to get his hands dirty. I know he didn't really do much during the course of the second round, but something that I liked from Erik Haula was that he was willing to fight someone. He fought Nason, the former New Jersey Devil. And I think Erik Haula knows how to fire up his teammates in that sort of way. So he's a tough guy. He knows how to score. He's selfless. He knows how to play defense, and he knows how to work on special teams as well. So basically, he could do a little bit of everything, and I don't think he's given enough credit. So if I had to describe Erik Haula, I'd say he's underrated, underappreciated, but he is well utilized on this roster because he could do a little bit of everything. Now, you probably don't want to just hear my perspective on Erik Haula. Before we switch over to the next subject, here's what Erik Haula had to say about how he fit in with this roster when I asked him during the course of exit interviews.
Early on in the year, a lot of people didn't see your true impact, but Lindy Ruff said that you were able to assist a lot in Jack Hughes's overall success. And then towards the end of the year, we saw you go on a scoring streak. So I want to get your perspective on how the season went from your end and how your skill set was utilized.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't score in the beginning of the year if the net was empty or wasn't empty. Goalie pulled, doesn't matter. It's an interesting. It's brutal, but I can score. I've proved it in this league. Jack's end, you know what? He's a great player. He's gonna only get better. If I helped him, that's awesome. He doesn't need any help. I just had a lot of fun playing with him. On the ice, off the ice. I have a lot of respect for him.
Erik Haula, like I said, he just fits like a glove in this organization. And I picked it up as the year progressed. And like I said, I was similar to a lot of people. I was like, what is Erik Haula doing out there? He should be a healthy scratch. He's not really doing anything. He's missing all these wide open opportunities. But like I said in segment one, I got to give credit where credit is due because Christy Flannery was able to shed that light. Same with Lindy Ruff when he was asked that post game one time, because Erik Haula can do those little things to help a team win. Obviously, I think Erik Haula is one of the leaders of the organization, but I don't even think Erik Haula himself realizes how much impact he has on this roster, because here was his answer when I asked him, like, how is he going to use the loss as motivation in order to motivate not only himself, but his teammates during the course of the summer. And here's what he had to say.
Yeah, it's the same motivation for me as every year. Is I'm gonna play as long as I can. You guys always get better, so I want to get better. And others, I can't motivate others. It's you do you, and you work hard and you get rewarded.
Once again, I think it's Erik Haula just being modest and not realizing what he brings to this organization. But if I had to tell him one thing, I think he should realize that his leadership is not being overlooked, at least on my end. And that's also picked up by his teammate, Jack Hughes. So here's what Jack Hughes had to say during his exit interview about Erik Haula and how he is a big fan of what Holla brings to this organization. Check it out.
I'm a huge Erik Haula fan. He came in and he did a great job for us, providing like that leadership and, experience. But, there's a difference between being in the locker room and being a voice and then not backing it up. And, he's a guy that's been a gamer for us and pretty much played all the games all year, and, you know, he's fighting, he's scoring, he's penalty killing, he's power play. So he's just a character guy, and, you know, he fit really well in our locker room, and, you know, that's a guy we should bring back for sure.
So what does this mean? Because Jack Hughes was basically going into great detail about how he loves Erik Haula's game. And when I showed it on social media and it caught traction, somebody said, well, look, that's his teammate. His teammate is not going to trash him in that sort of spotlight. Well, then they really didn't listen to Jack Hughes's full exit interview, because he did call somebody out about not signing an extension. But we'll talk about that in a future episode. But here's my perspective, having interacted with Jack Hughes before. Jack Hughes is a guy, like we all know, does not like doing interviews. He's short, simple, and to the point, and he is also very vague. To basically give a Shannon Sharp type analysis, Jack Hughes is basically like your crush in high school, which is this person is very popular, very well known, and you try your best to impress that person. Unfortunately, that person is going to turn you down and just say, like, whatever the case might be, because Jack Hughes has that look in his eye like he'd rather be anywhere else but doing an interview. But digressing a little bit, here's what I saw from Jack Hughes. In this sort of instance, he's not being short, simple, and to the point. And he's also going into great detail as to what Erik Haula brings to the roster. It's similar to what I was talking about in segment 1. He brings leadership. He brings determination. He brings grit. He's able to score. He's playing on special teams. He is a Swiss Army knife on this roster, as if the Devils need any more Swiss players in this organization. But once again, getting back to the point, I'm glad that Jack Hughes was not vague in his overall response when talking about Erik Haula in this instance. And I think Jack Hughes said a lot of things that he didn't have to say. He didn't have to say he was a big fan of Erik Haula. He didn't have to say what Erik Haula brought into this organization in great detail. And the main thing is, he didn't have to say that the Devils should re-sign him or bring him back. He didn't have to say all that. But Jack Hughes, he knows he's not the GM. He even said it during his interview. But Jack Hughes has enough power within this organization to basically entice a decision. He has enough power to basically tell Tom Fitzgerald, saying, hey, this needs to get done right now. And I think Jack Hughes is standing up for one of his former line mates, because he knows that Erik Haula is important. He is essential to this roster. And he was basically saying, Tom Fitzgerald, you better re-sign him right now. Now, I'm going to make a bit of a take here, and I'm not sure how many of you are going to agree with me or disagree with me, but here it goes. In my opinion, Erik Haula, and no disrespect to Andre Palat, but come next season, Erik Haula should be wearing the A on his sweater. He should be an alternate captain come next year, because he meets the criteria. And I'm not saying Andre Palat doesn't, but just hear me out for Erik Haula, because he is the heart and soul of this team, in my eyes. He has brought a lot of energy. He's brought a lot of good to this organization. He's been a leader, and he knows how to play effective minutes out there. And unlike Brendan Smith, which, once again, I'm not trying to disrespect anyone, but Brendan Smith, he's a great leader, but when it comes to his overall play, he's barely out there, and for a good reason. But Erik Haula is playing in most of the games. He played in 80 of the 82 games. So he meets all the criteria to be a captain on this roster, to be an alternate captain, and to wear the A on his sweater. He's a leader. He's beloved amongst his teammates. He is a veteran, so he's been around the block before, and he puts up solid numbers, and his production reflects the outcome of the game. Because remember when Jack Hughes was struggling in like January or February, around that time, Erik Haula wasn't initially starting on his line to begin the game. So I'm not saying that Erik Haula is the sole reason to why Jack Hughes was struggling at one point, but I think he does play a vital role, and that's something we cannot overlook at all, because Jack Hughes went on a tear late in 2022, and who was always on his line? It was Erik Haula. So I want you guys to remember that, because he is selfless. He makes the people around him better. His numbers could be a whole lot higher, but he doesn't have to do that, because he knows what it takes to win. He knows that he doesn't need to put up these big numbers, because there's other players on the roster who can do that, and he sees that. He wants to be with this team. He calls it his family, which we'll talk about in segment 3. And Jack Hughes has nothing but good things to say about him. And I always describe Jack Hughes as sort of the franchise player for this organization. And Jack Hughes, like I said, he does have enough power to basically just say to Tom Fitzgerald, like, what I say should go, because this team is built around me and my skill set. And if Jack Hughes has that high amount of praise for Erik Haula, I think that really reflects on what Erik Haula has brought to this organization. So that's my take. Erik Haula should be one of the captains come next year. He should be wearing an A on his sweater alongside with Jack Hughes, and then Nico Hischier, who wears a C on his sweater. Erik Haula deserves to be amongst one of those leaders for the Devils, and he meets the criteria. And like I said, no disrespect to Andre Palat, it's not a knock at him, but I think Erik Haula has gone above and beyond this season to be given that leadership role for the Devils organization. Now, we're going to wrap up this episode momentarily, and I'm going to give you some more sound bites by Erik Haula. But before we continue, when I was at the Prudential Center a couple days ago, there was something called McDonald's Gospel Fest. So if there's another event at the Prudential Center that you want to go to since the Devil season is now over, well, let me tell you about this. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The Game Time guarantee means you'll get the best price if you find tickets in the same section and row for less. Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Get images of your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Buy tickets in a matter of seconds. 2 taps and you're set. Tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through your email. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute ticket deals, lowest price, guaranteed. And now, let me tell you about a product I use literally every day, and that is AG1. So what is this stuff? Well, with one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, aging, and all those things. So its lifestyle is friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free. Contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, while still tasting good. Supports better sleep quality and recovery, supports mental clarity and alertness. It's one thing that's best with Athletic Greens that use best of best products based on the latest science with constant product iterations and third-party testing. So right now it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with a convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out after your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Okay, so here's the big question. In my opinion, should the New Jersey Devils re-sign Erik Haula? Well, before I answer that question, let's listen to a couple sound bites from Erik himself, because I said early on in the episode that he describes this team as his family, and he said he spoke to Fitzgerald about possibly extending him. So check out what Erik had to say to us during the course of his exit interview.
I don't want to play for any other team. I want to come back here, and I want to, I just kind of seems like the right spot for me, and this is my family. I don't want to go anywhere.
Erik, is that one of those things where, go to your agent right away and say, like, hey, let's get this done?
I was just in Fitzy's office, and I was like, hey, let's get it done. So whenever he gives the call, that'd be great. So hopefully we can do it sooner than later so I can, get my living situation in order and make my wife happy.
Man, Erik Haula went full Vin Diesel. He was like, this team is my family, and I don't anticipate for playing with another team or organization. And I know that some tough decisions are going to have to be made by Tom Fitzgerald, the general manager, but I think there's room on this roster for Erik Haula, because before I give you guys my thoughts, I just want to give another example. So I'm not sure whose YouTube channel I was watching. I think it's called Running with the Devils or something like that. Basically, when exit meetings were happening, a lot of fans were outside the door, basically waiting for the Devils to come outside, sign autographs, whatever the case might be. And Erik Haula was signing autographs, and he says he anticipates to be back, saying he doesn't want to play for another team. So he's telling the fans that he wants to return to this organization. Now, a lot of people have brought up the fact that Erik Haula has a turbulent history. I talked briefly about it in segment one. There was a rumor saying that he and Rod Brind'Amour did not get along when he was playing with the Carolina Hurricanes, which led to Erik Haula being traded to the Florida Panthers. I think someone who covers the Boston Bruins said that she also heard some not good things about Erik Haula. And somebody even asked me, do people even want to play with them? Well, here's what I can tell you once again, and I know I'm going to repeat myself. Erik Haula is a joy to be around in the locker room. Whether it's a win or a loss, he always makes time to speak with us. And sometimes he's not in the best of moods, but who isn't grouchy after a loss, quite honestly? And the fact that he makes himself available to speak to the media, regardless of any circumstance, really shows much about his character and his leadership. And he just tells it how it is. And yeah, like I said, he can be sarcastic. Sometimes he can be a little grouchy, snippy, whatever the case might be, whatever adjective you want to throw at him. But I think it's justified because he's just trying to be blunt and honest and not mislead anyone. And that includes the media. And I think it translates into the locker room behind closed doors with his teammates. So I don't know what the case is for Erik Haula. I don't know what the true story is that happened in the past about his turbulent history, about him being a cancer in the locker room, saying that no one wants to play with him, wherever the case might be. I don't know. And I don't care, because what I know right now is that the New Jersey Devils love Erik Haula. The players love him. Jack Hughes, the franchise player, has his back 100%. And basically, here's my thing. Erik Haula said he was a little hesitant about being traded from Boston to New Jersey. He wasn't really on board with it at first, but it really grew on him. So my thing for Erik Haula is that he needed a second chance. He needed some sort of redemption, and he really needed to go to a place where he felt accepted and where his leadership can shine. And I think New Jersey was the perfect opportunity for him. And he was, like I said, playing in most of the games. So he was always a part of the Devils in any which sort of way, whether it was a 13-game win streak, whether it was the playoffs, whether it was trying to finish off the season strong, whether it was Jack Hughes, Dougie Hamilton, Jesper Bratt, Nico Hischier trying to surpass NHL records, Devils records, personal records, whatever the case might be. Erik Haula is a part of that. And I don't know what his past is, and I couldn't care less, because Erik Haula right now is important for the Devils roster, and he should be one of the alternate captains come next season. It should be him, Jack Hughes, with Nico Hischier wearing the C on his sweater once again. So I don't care about his past, because what I know right now, what I know at this very present moment, what I know during the course of this recording, Erik Haula is committed to the Devils organization. And I like I said, tough decisions are going to have to be made. But I think something could be negotiated for Erik Haula, because here's the facts. He's 32 years of age, and I think he still has a few more productive seasons left in him. I think he can give us 2 to 3 years of solid production. And quite honestly, I don't think the Devils are far off from possibly going further in the playoffs. Now, will they win the Stanley Cup come next year? Not really sure. I'm not a psychic, but I think Erik Haula can definitely, within these next 2 to 3 years, can definitely be that glue piece for a Devils organization, so that way they can take that next step, and that way they can reach the Stanley Cup. So that's my thing for Erik Haula. I want him to be a part of this special unit, and he's the heart and soul of this team. So you need that glue piece, you need that leader, you need that person who could do a little bit of everything, and their production might be slept on a little bit. So I don't know how appreciated Erik Haula was with the Boston Bruins or the Florida Panthers or the Carolina Hurricanes, Nashville Predators, wherever team he's played on, because he is appreciated here. Tom Fitzgerald re-signed Erik Haula to a 2 to 3 year deal. I don't think too many teams are going to be knocking on his door due to his history. So I think he can come at a very cheap price. And I think he's willing to take a pay cut, because he knows that Timo Meier and Jesper Bratt are the top priorities for this Devils organization. So I think we can anticipate that Damon Severson, Ryan Graves, Mackenzie Blackwood, maybe Tomas Tatar, and we'll talk about all those circumstances in a future episode. I think they might be out the door, and the openings are there. And quite honestly, Jesper Bratt might be forced to take a pay cut given how poorly he played during the entirety of the playoffs. So I think the openings are there, and I think Erik Haula can re-sign at a cheap deal, and you can still have room to try to negotiate an extension with both Timo Meier and Jesper Bratt. So that's my thing. Re-sign Erik Haula. He deserves to be on this roster 100%. So let me know what you guys think about Erik Haula in general. Do you want to see him back on the roster? Do you see him as a cancer? And if you weren't satisfied with his overall production, I don't know what else I can tell you, but Leave a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're listening on podcast streaming service. Hit me up on my social media platforms, whether it's the show's Twitter page at Locked On Devils or my personal Twitter page at TreyMatt4. Curious to your guys' thoughts. And like I said, I got a lot of sound bites from the exit interviews, so there's going to be a whole lot of content surrounding some of those sound bites I was able to pick up. But let me know what you guys think. Curious to your guys' thoughts. So as for today's episode, that's all the time I have for you. So continue to stay safe. Have a wonderful day, New Jersey. Go Devils. I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Thanks for listening once again. Day one of the offseason, at least on my end, complete. Still many more days to go.